Welcome, students, to another episode of Manhood Academy podcasting. As always, I'm your host, Professor Plum, and we have with us special co-host Deepak Chopra Bogler.
Bogleman.
Welcome, Bogleman. We had technical difficulties, so this is technically our second restart of our podcast.
I had to do a do-over.
We're doing a do-over.
Yeah.
I just took a mouthful of delicious shake. As you know, I stalled for about half an hour before beginning this podcast, which is long overdue. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so let's go to the bottom. I gotta tell you, I am not exhausted, but what's the word where you're super duper relaxed, almost to the point of, actually I'm not really falling asleep. I'm pretty energized after drinking this shake.
Oh, that's good.
But I was soaking in the jacuzzi for a little while because I had super duper neck pain. I usually don't go into the jacuzzi, but I was like, well, it's there. I could grit my teeth and take the pain, but I thought, well, it's there. I never use it. Why not?
You have neck pain too? I thought only I had neck pain.
Well, I don't really, sometimes you sleep on your back wrong or something, or you're doing some exercise. Yesterday I was doing some exercise, and I probably strained my neck a little bit. But I was like, well, I got the jacuzzi access. Why not use it? Usually I won't even think about it. It doesn't come to mind. Well, even while I was in the jacuzzi, I was thinking about, we always talk about pain and pleasure. And I'm thinking, what if I was a mountain man out in the wild, like in Minnesota or something, and it was the 1600s, and I was just chopping wood, and I had sore shoulders or something? What would I do? Would I just be like, hey, too bad, I got sore shoulders, I'll be back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or would I make would I have smithing skills where I could, pour a cast of molten lead and create a bathtub? Or could I make one out of wood, like they do in old Wild West movies where they have wooden bathtubs and just soak in it? Is that what they did back then? How did they clean themselves?
I would assume they jumped into a fresh river.
The correct answer is who cares? Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one of the first notes can you see what I'm highlighting, by the way?
Hold on, let me switch the view a little. Okay. Go on.
Beep.
Yeah.
Can you see what I'm highlighting at the bottom?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Okay, so we're trying out Google Notes, Google Documents right now, and we're both in the same document, which is pretty amazing technology.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it has a note that says something about covering High School 101's excuse management report.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's technically it's supposed to be the expectation management report, but in this case, this is excuse management report.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
What I used to do, excuses.
Should be familiar to you. So, but
Something close to my heart.
High School 101 is missing in action. We haven't heard from him since. He could have.
I would have had to read 10,000 extra posts if he was on here right now.
Yeah, exactly. You missed out on about 1,000 extra posts because he hasn't been on the forum posting. He usually posts like 20 times a day, but he's been MIA since his latest brush with punishment. He had to write something. I even forgot what he had to write. It's been so long.
You're dishing out punishments left and right.
Left and right, exactly. Sometimes it just blows students out of the forum completely because they're not ready to deal with the punishment. For example, Rob's show has been gone. He had to summarize because he has never read the ebook. I told him finally, look, I want you to summarize each section of the ebook. That means section 1, 2, and 3.
That'll take him 10 years.
Yeah, don't come back until you're done doing it. And of course, he basically just dropped out of the academy. So sometimes students don't give up because they aren't prepared.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, this is too much.
This is too much.
Finish it right now.
So on one hand, I'm torn because I know punishment is good in the sense that it drives you to get rid of your dysfunctional behavior. For instance, you took abnormally long to finish your paper that you had due.
Yeah, I'm lazy.
Yeah, because you're lazy, but eventually you did it. So in a sense, it is good that you were able to take the punishment and complete your assignment and turn it in. So this basically created some order in your character by removing your dysfunctional behavior. So it had a definite benefit to you. And if you didn't have that punishment, you wouldn't be reflecting on things. You wouldn't be able to organize your thoughts the way you are now. You wouldn't be able to help the students out because the reason it became a sticky post is because it was such a good post you made.
Yeah.
So there's all these other side benefits that come from getting disciplined. People always, like a new student. Who's a new student? Grand Theft Bitches? Yeah, Grand Theft Bitch. the new student. He's a prime example of, your typical new student mentality, which is, I only want successes. I want to avoid failure at all costs. In fact, I'm going to be so special that I'm going to breeze through this academy without any failures, or I'm just going to sweep my failure under the rug, and hopefully we'll just focus all our attention on my successes.
Well, I mean, if you go through life that way, if you're kind of a smart guy and you're doing good at doing well in college.
That's a lot of the problem.
The same thing. Like when I first came here, I want this right away. Okay, I do these assignments and I should be done.
Yes, a lot of you guys are naturally bright. You have a natural capacity to examine things and, to be somewhat reasonably intelligent. And this has gotten you by in life because you have ridiculously retarded, incompetent, inept teachers that were shackled by the educational system in America, and they were too afraid to punish you for any of your dysfunctional behavior. They're too afraid to correct you in class. They're too afraid to tell you, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing it that way. Do it this way. Because they were worried about lawsuits, or they're worried about hurting your feelings, or any of a host of other bullshit reasons and excuses why people don't.
Thought of actually did it, people would be like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And he would.
Yeah, they were afraid of ridicule from the faculty members or being thought of as being too cruel. They don't want to lose their status as the cool teacher. Whatever reason, whatever bullshit excuse they use to justify not disciplining you, and as a result, a lot of you suffer from retardation. That's just a simple way to put it. But you have poor listening skills. You can't follow directions. For instance, Grand Theft Bitch couldn't follow basic directions that I would expect, like a fifth grader to be able to follow. High school kid, let alone, not a high school kid, a fifth grade. I mean, these are simple directions. These are like, look, your speaker, when you're posting your expectation management report and you have somebody speaking, the speaker's names should be in bold. There's no trick direction there. It's just your speaker's names are in bold or they aren't in bold. And if you looked at your work and you saw your speakers' names weren't in bold, and then you see the example and you see that plumber that said, "Hey, everything should be in bold," it doesn't even require that many brain cells to figure out that there's a discrepancy between your work, the quality of your work, and what's expected.
Yeah, you don't need to understand theory of relativity.
Yeah, this doesn't involve advanced astrophysics. This is just a simple do this rote direction. Even a chick could do this. If a chick can do it, you should be embarrassed if you can't do it. Okay.
Chicks are very disciplined these days.
Yes, chicks are very disciplined these days. So it just goes to show the level of incompetence in American education today, the American educational system. Because if they had any inkling of what they should be doing with the students would be coming in here without these type of basic problems. Forget about their social interaction problems. If you can't even fucking follow simple basic directions, you got much bigger fundamental problems to start off with. Okay, so. Let me open up his post real quick. I thought I would take a new tack here, and I'm opening up. Shut up and get to the point, Grand Theft Bitch. Okay, so that's the title of his expectation management post, and his post has been riddled with errors, inaccuracies, problems, etc. He's just basically not following the EM posting guidelines, which because of him, I made it into an announcement instead of just a sticky, so it's right at the top. Because I think students just come into the forum and just start posting like crazy because nobody ever tells them, look, you need to do things in an orderly way when you're trying to learn something. But because the school system is not orderly, they're allowed to get away with bullshit like that. Whereas here, it's a totally different experience. This is the first exposure to order they've ever had. So it's understandable that this guy would be confused as to what to do, even though, to me, it seems like very elementary and basic. Look, here are the directions. Do exactly what they say, and you have no problems.
Yes.
So he said something. Let me just skip down here to like the basic problem I've encountered. And I've stressed this. I made this a separate post in the EM posting directions. And the EM posting guidelines state, refrain from stating, I'm applying pleasure or I'm applying pain. Instead, use, I'm rewarding her with pleasure of approval, or I'm punishing her by ignoring her. So what is the emphasis, or what is being stated here in these directions? Are they too vague for you? Can you explain what's going on here, Bogler?
From the post?
Yeah, what's the point of me saying, refrain from stating, I'm applying pleasure or I'm applying pain. Use instead, I'm rewarding her with the pleasure of approval. I'm punishing her by ignoring her. What is the difference there?
You want the students to use these phrases and stuff, the previous phrases.
Right. I'm basically just saying, don't say applying pleasure, don't say applying playing, use rewarding, use punishing.
Use the more accurate terms.
Yes. Or what these are terms originally, we already discussed this in the entire podcast, so I don't want to get into it, but there's a reason why we changed these terms to rewarding and punishing instead of applying pain, applying pleasure. Part of it has to do with the hallucinatory usage by students who have no clue what they're doing, so we're trying to make this as simple and straightforward as possible.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to say, I'm rewarding you with my approval, or I'm punishing you by ignoring you. You're not supposed to be saying, I'm applying pleasure or I'm applying pain.
Yeah.
And so if you read his EM report, you find, I realize I should have applied more pain. What's wrong with that statement?
He should have at least said, I realize I should have rewarded her. I mean, I should have punished her by applying pain.
Right. So, it's difficult. Because on one hand, I understand the guy's not on the same page as the instructors here. He is not anywhere near as competent at examining his work and diagnosing the problems.
Yes.
So, I'm trying to teach him on one hand how to do that. But on the other hand, I don't want to hold his hand and do the work for him. I want him to learn how to do this and how to have an adverse situation. Like, this isn't even really adversity. Correcting your work is not adversity. But for a lot of students, it is. Like, if I tell you, hey, go correct the errors in your post. If you're a new student here, that's like telling you, go kill your mother. I mean, it just seems like such a dramatic event for people when really, if you're a normal person and I just tell you, look, you made a mistake on this form, go correct it, that should be a no-brainer. It should be, you should be embarrassed and you should say, okay, I'm going to do everything in my power to correct the error. And whether it takes one time or 200 times to correct it, your goal is going to be to correct the error, not to worry about how many times you actually had to do it or how much effort you expended correcting it or whether it was justified or not to correct it. Your goal is to say, look, this is wrong. I'm going to make it right.
Yeah, but when you're not used to something, like when you're used to those standards, like doing anything, like when I can kind of identify with that.
Yes, I understand. That's the point I'm making. You guys are used to not having the standard of it's correct or it's not correct. You're used to having the standard of it sounds about right. It's okay.
Like, this is what I did.
It's close enough.
I put some effort.
What's that?
It's like this, like, oh, here I put some effort, so therefore
yes,
it should be good.
You guys want to be rewarded for effort versus being rewarded for producing the correct result. So you think if I put in 10 hours of effort, that's worth something. Well, here it's not worth anything. Your effort doesn't mean anything. What means something is you doing it correctly. The effort will be included in when you get the correct answer, because getting the correct answer involves effort by definition. But we're not going to give you credit just for whether it takes you 10 hours or 1 hour. That's irrelevant.
My batch wrote this, so that's it.
We care about you being confident. So on one hand, I understand. On one hand, I understand that yes, this guy is deficient in his education and he needs a pointer in the right direction. On the other hand, I don't want to hold his hand and baby him through the process. I want him to be able to have some type of obstacle in his way and be able to overcome it on his, through his own resources. Yeah. I don't want to emphasize on his own, by his own. I want to get away from that mentality. I want him to also be able to depend on the other students. So it's difficult because I'm not really making my expectations clear to him. There are a lot of expectations, and that's why we have a lot of posts. But also to get to those posts, students are in a rush to just fix their individual problem, not even considering that their problem also involves the other students at the academy. Therefore, they have to read other posts because their situation is covered in other posts. The reason why students should rely on each other for help is already covered in the posts, but he hasn't obviously gotten to those posts. In his mind, it's just me against the world right now. Plum is punishing me. Plum is correcting me. Everything hurts. I don't know what to do. I'm going to cry in the fetal position. But there are all these posts on the forum that are there for him, to help him. They are there to push him to socialize with the students. They're there to push him to rely on the other students for help. They're there to give him answers to his questions, the ones he's asking. How am I supposed to do this? There are posts that cover this. There are podcasts that cover this. But if you were in a rush to graduate in one day, you're going to be frustrated. Most of this frustration is stemming from his delusional belief in his own competence. He thinks, I typed this AM report up. It should be perfect. What's Plum bitching about? So now he's having a meltdown. I don't know what's happening to me. What's going on? It's so painful. It's so unbearable. He's having this dramatic panic attack about nothing. But the reason it's evolved into something so significant, so monumental, it's become a mountain, right? He's made a molehill into a mountain. It's because he doesn't have training. He doesn't have the tools yet to be able to diagnose a problem and solve that problem.
Yeah.
That's what he's here to learn. So I'm kind of torn in between. This is the part that is the part you'll learn by trial and error, which is applying the correct amount of pain. On one hand, I need to applying the correct amount of pain.
Punishing.
Yes, to punish with the right amount of pain, or to reward with the right amount of pleasure. So on one hand, I want to give him an incentive and a reward, or a stimulating burst of pleasure to give him an orderly path to follow. So that means I need to give him directions. I need to teach him how to create an orderly way of educating yourself. So I need to motivate him. That's why all these posts are here. They are free pleasure. They're going to tell you how to unfuck yourself. They're going to give you an orderly guideline for doing things. The ebook is going to give you an orderly guideline for doing things. So there's a lot of pleasure right there. But there can't just be a pleasure motivator, because if the pleasure motivator worked perfectly, I wouldn't need to explain all these problems in his post. So then there has to be the pain motivator, which is, you're fucking up. I need to punish you to expose the fuck up and to stop and remove that dysfunctional behavior. So in this case, what is the dysfunctional behavior?
Not paying attention.
Yes, not following directions, being a lazy ass, not doing the work required. Not reading properly. You're reading in a lazy way, not reading critically, not reading comprehensively, just kind of skim reading and thinking, yeah, I did that, yep, did that. No, you didn't. You didn't even consider that. You didn't even give that time to soak in.
And I notice when you're not a good reader, you also tend to be a bad listener too.
Yes, those two go hand in hand. So on the other hand, there's on one hand there's pleasure, the incentive, the direction. Here's what you should do. On the other hand, there's the punishment, the deterrent, telling you what not to do. And there needs to be some what not to do incentive over here, given for this dysfunctional post. So, the tricky part is figuring out with a student who you've never met before, but you just can take from his words. I have to diagnose this problem. So I have to look and see, is this guy, a serial killer?
Yeah.
Is this guy so emotionally fragile that he'll snap in half if I give him a paper, or if I punish him too harshly? Or is this guy just a lazy fuck who needs a kick in the ass? It's difficult to say.
It's hard to determine, yeah.
But that's why I have to carefully observe what he is posting to figure that out. So as we always say, we can't help you unless you describe your situation, your experience in detail for the instructors to diagnose. If you don't tell us anything, we're not mind readers. We won't be able to give you a proper diagnosis. So the more you tell us, the more explicit you are with your expression of your experiences, with your expression of your expectation management exercises, the more the instructors can step in and go, oh, okay, here's the problem, here's where you need correction.
Yes.
So that's what's going on here in this post. And I wasn't sure if this was too much pain or just enough pain or too little pain. We'll see. It's going to be based on his reaction to this punishment. Time will tell, exactly. So I've repeated the posting guidelines like 3 times in a row to let it sink in that he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Going back, sometimes I have a sensation that I'm being too harsh with the students, but other times I'm thinking the reason why they're in this state is because nobody's ever been harsh for them. And it's not like I'm beating him. These are words. These aren't kendo sticks. These aren't kicks to the stomach. These are words. So it's almost, was he the same guy talking to me about authority? I don't respect your authority. Like,
no, that was fated potential.
That was fated potential, right? Let me cover that. Okay. Part of the problem here with having a forum is that the pain here isn't really as substantial as it should be. For instance, if you're misbehaving at home, I should really be able to just reach out and spank you. That's a more immediate and effective method of pain for an unruly child. Or for a student, I should just be able to smack you on the back of the head and say, look,
They would do that.
Stop fucking around. In India, you could do that. That's what I love about India. But here in the forum, the best I can do is just, type capital letters. I mean, I can ridicule you in words, but it really depends on your comprehension and how you take those words. I mean, if you don't really care about what I write, it's not going to matter. Yeah. If you don't care about my sexy pictures that I post, my correction isn't really going to be that painful for you. Yeah. So it really depends on how you take that correction. What Faded Potential was alluding to was the fact that he thinks authority can be built on good intentions. Like if I say, hey, Bogler, you're teaching at let's see, what company? You're teaching at Google. You're the president of Google. You're giving me directions. You're the lead engineer at Google. Yeah. And I'm an employee, and like Bogler, I respect you because I'm an adult and I want to learn something. So that's the reason I respect you. That's why I show up to work. That's why I do my assignments, etc. How effective will that be if you completely take a backseat in your job as a manager and in your job as a boss? How effective will that be if I just tell you, look, Bogler, you don't have to correct me or yell at me or discipline me in any way. I'm just going to respect you because I'm a mature person. That's the type of guy I am. How effective do you think you would be if you just believed me and said, you know what? That sounds great. I don't even have to be a boss now. I can just tell you, look, do your stuff, and that's it.
If I got super lucky and you just happen to be that great guy who just, then in rare scenarios, yes, that would be effective.
Yeah, in the 1 in a billion scenario that this guy has actually learned how to be a functional, responsible adult. Yeah. Yeah, not likely in today's work environment.
Yeah, but 99% it wouldn't be effective. And the first moment that the person got a chance, they were starting.
Why does there need to be a boss? Why do you have to be in charge of me? Why can't I just respect you and just go, look, Bogler, I shouldn't have to fear your authority. We're bros. Because I want to get the job done. Why do I need to fear your authority? Why is it even necessary?
Not a kind of ideal workers. You need somebody to.
Yeah, but why do I need to fear your authority? Why can't I just say, hey, I respect you, bro. That's cool. Why do I need to fear your authority? What's the point of fearing authority?
There's nothing to motivate you to do something.
Paycheck. I want a paycheck. I'm going to do it.
That's a positive motivation.
What's the problem with only having the positive motivation?
Well, say I save up money and for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I just decide, I have enough money. I don't want to come into work. I won't come in. Screw your project.
That's right, because if I don't fear your authority, I'm just going to go, well, you're not going to do anything to me anyway. I have nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
All you're giving me is positive incentive is a paycheck, but I got enough money right now saved up. I don't need to listen to you. I'm not going to come in. Yeah. Nothing bad's going to happen to me.
I'll come in when I feel wanted.
I'll come in when I feel like it. So you can see how impractical that is in real life. How you see how immediately when you get into real life situations, you see how necessary it is for authority to work. There has to be the fear of that authority. If there's no fear, there's no authority.
Yes.
If you don't fear the police don't have authority. They can't make you stop.
So, I mean, authority and fear are omnipresent everywhere in people's lives. They just don't...
They just don't realize it. Like, you could have a great relationship with a friend or something, but if, let's say you're a parent, and you're raising a kid, and you're like, oh, we're just going to be buddy-buddy. I just want the kid to love me, and we're going to be buddy-buddy. And I'm never going to spank him, I'm never going to yell at him, I'm just going to encourage him to do great things. I'm just going to be positive. No negative experiences at all. What's the problem with that approach? What's going to happen?
It's like the single mom and her daughter relationship. And eventually you stop listening.
Eventually you stop listening. You stop following directions. You start doing your own thing, and there's no recourse to correct that dysfunctional behavior. If that daughter doesn't fear you, Bogler, you single mom, if your daughter doesn't fear your authority,
she's gonna be like,
I'll do what I want. She's gonna run off and end up on the Maury Povich show.
She's gonna be another single mom.
She's gonna end up another single mom, exactly.
If you're a single mom telling your daughter, hey, don't do what I did, she'll be like, okay.
Great, thanks for that. See you later. I gotta go get knocked up.
Yeah.
So you see how important it is to punish dysfunctional behavior so that you do create that fear of your authority. Because if you're unable to punish, your authority is not established. By the way, I can't wait to release this new update to the ebook. There's so many helpful changes, so many clarifications. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I'm waiting for pictures all the way.
I can't wait. This thing is.
When you open the start page, there should be a picture.
There should be a picture on everything. You should be full of pictures. It should be like 10% text and 90% pictures. There should be two actual pages of pamphlet text and then 900 pages of pictures.
So that way you can refer to, remember on page 48 where the guy is yelling?
You should be able to have your son in bed and tell him a bedtime story and read him the Manhood Academy workbook.
Yeah, remember the apple tree on page 98?
Exactly. That's how we want our book to work.
Yeah.
At first, I just wanted to throw in a picture here and there.
Reference to any part of the book, because you name the picture and people immediately know what you're talking about.
Yes. It's amazing how far this book has come. Initially I was just throwing in pictures in the beginning, but the pictures have done two things. They've forced me to examine each section I'm throwing pictures in, so I'm making updates to the actual text.
Make more accurate.
Yeah, making the text more accurate. And then also, the text is becoming, it's becoming clear with the illustrations. The illustrations and pictures are really helpful to illustrate some of the concepts, or to really get across some of the concepts that are difficult to understand without visual aids or without somebody actually demonstrating those things to you.
Yep, like ridicule, disapproval. Like you have pictures, it's quicker. I mean, you have a vague sense of how ridicule and disapproval is, but
yes, when I get to that section, I have no idea what to post for ridicule or
disapproval. You're gonna have some guy ridicule, like rolling his eyes. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We're on item number 1, and it's been an hour already.
Yeah, it's been too long.
Let's see. What do we? I gotta turn off the chat room. It sounds like somebody just popped in. Bwahaha! I fucked it up royally. Welcome. Hey, let me write a quick note. We're podcasting right now. You can listen to the instructor's take about your post in a little while.
Oh, he just came back from work or
Whee! Okay, so there's Grand Theft Bitch. Here he is. Okay, so can we tie it all up? Basically, here's an overall Aesop's fable morality tale or a short moral to the story. As a new student, you're going to have a delusional view of where you should be at. When that view gets exposed, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. This is the first step.
Yeah, it prepares you for a series of dysfunctional, delusional views that are going to be exposed along the way.
Yes.
Because then you're going to be like, okay, now that you start writing something like, oh, okay, why am I not getting chicks? And then you're going to have to realize, well, there's a billion other reasons.
Yes. So what we're doing is preparing you. Because if that delusional view stays there, you're going to be so frustrated. You're going to be like French fries. Anime the franchise. French fries are the classic case of a guy with a delusional view of where he should be, what he thinks his competence should be, and the reality of where he's actually at. And when those two things clash or conflict, this causes extreme frustration in your life.
I think I've had that too.
You've had that too. Actually, I can't think of a student who hasn't had that, where they think, look, yes, I'm joining Manhood Academy because I have some socialization problems, but it's just one or two isolated things. I'm really actually not that bad. I'm actually at this level, or I'm actually this good at socializing. And then you find out through trial and error at the academy, you were delusionally off.
Well, and also the few successes, the emotional highs kind of throw you off too. You think, oh yeah, I got it now.
Ah, yeah, you sound just like Boke. Yeah. Is it Book or Boke? I don't even, how does that guy pronounce his name? Book or Boke?
Well, that's his screen name, yeah, Boke. Yeah.
No, how does he pronounce it?
I don't know, I didn't ask you.
I thought you guys had naked cam chats together and you don't know how he pronounces his name? Alright, I'm gonna call him Boke. That's how I pronounce it in my head. Boke. So, Boke, B-O-U-C, is a classic case of a guy who runs off his emotional highs. He hasn't yet learned how to discipline himself, how to ignore the emotional highs and lows, and to just become disciplined in his approach to what he's doing. Not even just social interaction, but, you know, life in general. Like if you go to a job and you just went to a job when you felt like getting up or you felt good in the morning, you'd be fired immediately. You would not last at that job. You need to develop self-discipline, which says, look, I don't care if I'm feeling great today, I'm going to work. I don't care if I'm feeling terrible today, I'm going to work. You're telling your body, you're telling your mind, look, my will is in charge. I'm telling you what we're doing. We're going to work. That's called self-discipline. That's being able to apply pain to yourself. That's being able to punish your dysfunctional tendency to hang on your emotions, to hang all your experiences on your emotions. Where you go, oh, look, this girl talked to me. I'm the most amazing guy on the planet. Girls love me.
Yeah.
And then the next girl you talk to,
Like stares at you.
go away. She rolls her eyes at you, and all of a sudden,
I
oh
want to kill
fuck,
myself.
I want to kill myself. I hate life.
Yeah.
I feel so terrible. And you're taken out for the next week because your emotions are like a roller coaster. You're like a little baby. You're like a little infant. You're like a chick who's up and down based on her menstrual cycle, who's up and down based on how she's feeling. That's you right now. You're a chick for all intents and purposes.
So the thoughts should overrule the feelings?
No, your discipline, your agenda, your direction should overrule your feelings. If you have a job to do, if you have a duty to do, let's say you're a soldier in a war, are you allowed to go, you know what, General, sir, Sergeant, Major, sir, I don't feel like going to war today. I don't feel like fighting today. I'm just going to sleep in. Is that cool with you? Well, yeah, it's cool if you want your whole fucking platoon to die, or you want to lose the war, etc. If you plan on accomplishing anything, worth anything, you need to learn how to discipline yourself.
For a long-term result.
Yeah.
That immediate moment, you just want to comfort that damn feeling.
If you just rely on that comforting feeling, you're fucked. You know what's a comforting feeling? Knowing that you can operate in spite of your feelings, in spite of poor feelings, in spite of negative feelings, in spite of bad feelings.
So once you get that realization by doing it.
Once you do it and you realize, look, I can do it, that is a comforting feeling. Let me give you an example. I was just thinking about this in the jacuzzi today. We used to have this coach when we were playing sports. And, this was like, when you first start in a sport, you have a kind of a hazing period where they put you through, like, they really turn the screws on you and make it really difficult the first week to just put you through physical punishment, push-ups, sit-ups, running, sprints, etc.
But in school?
Yes, in school, school sports. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever had experience on being on a sport team. I don't know if they made you do push-ups in tennis or lacrosse or bocce ball or whatever you play in India. But at our school, we had to do, drills and, guys were running with their arms up and lifting their knees really high and running in place until guys puked, that type of thing. And this coach was really difficult. Yes, no, it wasn't, the school wasn't hardcore. The school was not hardcore at all. The coach was hardcore.
Okay.
This is the point about the coach. So, this coach, we were doing this drill where we were passing a ball. Everybody was sitting against the wall. Like, imagine you're sitting on a chair, except you have no chair. Just the back of the wall is your chair. Yeah. So after a while, your legs are just straining, and your arms are straight out. Imagine your arms just straight out like Frankenstein, and there's a ball, and your whole team is against the wall. Like maybe 20 or 30 guys are against the wall, and you're just passing that ball, and everybody has to hold it for like 30 seconds, or I don't remember how long it was, a minute, whatever. And you hold it, and you pass it to the next guy. And everybody has to sit there straight and not move and just keep holding that ball up. And it goes down the line, and eventually after like the 10th guy, everybody starts like, complaining and whining, and I can't do it. Oh, my arms are hurting. Coach, I can't sit this long. I can't take the pain. Yeah. And guess what happens when you drop the ball? Does the coach go, oh, you know what? You're feeling bad? All right, cool, bro. Practice is over. Take a rest. Go get a water break. No, he goes, guess what he says? Oh, you fucked up. You dropped the ball. Somebody dropped the ball, or somebody started slouching and stopped sitting down, and they slid down the wall. We start over. Take the ball back and put it in the first guy's hand. We're starting over. So we had to start over a few times before people realized there was no mercy. There was no way out of this. You had to do it. The only way you're going to get out of this is to accomplish it, is to do it. And while we were doing that, while we were in such excruciating pain and he's passing the ball along, he's telling us, look, your body will tell you some things sometimes. It'll say, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready to do this, etc. But your mind is more powerful. It can tell your body, look, you do it because I told you to do it. In the fourth quarter, in like a basketball game or something, guys want to quit. They're exhausted. Like, I'm tired. Forget this. I don't want to win. And your body's going to be tired, but your mind says, look, go out and win. Do it. Yes, you're tired, Mr. Body, but I'm in charge. Do what I told you to do. Do what I trained you to do. All those hours in the gym practicing, running back and forth, that's to train you to do it. I'm the will. I'm in charge. You're going to do it. I don't care if you're tired. You're going to do it. So we learned that most of the problem was our delusional view of what our capacity was. We thought, I can only just sit there for a minute. Now I'm tired. I can't do it anymore. Guess what? If there's enough motivation, if there's enough incentive, you'll do it. So we pushed our limits and we realized, guess what? We can do what we thought we couldn't do because somebody pushed us. We never would have found that out if nobody had punished us, had taken the time to say, look, you need some pain. You need to learn how to discipline yourself. You need some self-discipline in your life. Sports, people always make sports analogies because there's a lot of things you learn in sports. For instance, self-discipline. You learn how to repeat a task over and over. That's why I use, a picture of a sport analogy when we're talking about correct form. You learn that you want a result, but to get that result, you have to repeat the correct form over and over, repetition, so that you become competent at it, that it becomes very simple. Like right now, how difficult is it for you to type a sentence, my name is Boggles and I like sausages. And if I tell you, look, Boggles, you have 30 seconds to type that out. My name is Boggles, I like sausages, or I'm going to punch you in the stomach. How panicked are you going to be?
Not very panicked.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
Not very panicked, I can type it.
Why? You only have 30 seconds.
I know I can type it in 30 seconds. I've done it in the past. I can type thrice, four times that sentences in 30 seconds.
Right. So you're not panicked because you have training, even though there's a threat of punishment, there's a threat of pain on the horizon if you don't accomplish the task. You're able to do it, and you're competent at doing it because you've practiced it. You have enough repetition where you become competent. It's second nature. You don't panic. If I tell you, look, you only have 30 seconds, I'm going to punch you in the stomach, go now. You can do that, no problem. My name is blah, 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 blah. I can type that quickly.
The training can help you overcome.
Yes, training changes your view of what you can do. When you first learn typing, you're like, oh, hunt and peck. I remember we had a typing class. It was specifically called typing class. And we had like these keyboards we had to learn on. And it was like, oh, fuck, I got to type this stupid sentence again. Now typing a sentence is no problem. It's like a breeze. It's like second nature. I look forward to seeing a keyboard everywhere I go where I have to write something because my handwriting is so terrible. I can type everything so much faster. So, but I learned this through repetition, through constant repetition, and I type daily. It's part of my job. So I have some repetition. Now I have a skill. I have confidence. I can type things at a good breeze, and I can do it without fail because I practice it over and over and over again. I have some discipline now to do it.
Yeah.
So this is what we're teaching guys here: how to develop self-discipline, how to discipline their own bodies, discipline their own minds, to diagnose their own problems, and to accomplish what they want to accomplish in social interaction. To develop a relationship with a girl, to know how to manage that relationship, because the instructors aren't going to be there in your bed when you're in the relationship. They're not going to be there in the kitchen when you're having an argument. You're going to have to be able to competently manage that on your own.
With regards to the previous point about the will being in charge.
Yes.
Pushing your body to the limit.
Yes.
Earlier I used to think, if I push myself too hard, I might get stressed out, and then I'm going to have really bad effects.
Yes, stress. Well, there's also the example of going too far, exerting your body, that there's so much pain that you are crippled by that pain.
But for the most part, I don't think most people hit that. It's just you, before that itself, you think, oh shit, I'm going to get stressed out, and you start giving up.
Yeah, with repetition and experience, you learn the difference between crippling pain and pain that is disciplining your body. For instance, when you're working out, you're experiencing pain when you're lifting weights, or you're doing some lunges or whatever you're doing to work out. If you're playing baseball, or you're swimming, you're working out, you're pushing your muscles, and they're tearing. They're physically, these tiny little microscopic tears are occurring in your muscles. This is causing pain. There's that lactic acid buildup in your muscles. But your body is being put through a painful process, whether you realize it or not. A lot of people say working out feels great, but actually, if you break it down, there's a lot of pain involved in workout. It's just that if you work out for a long time or you play sports all your whole life, you don't notice that pain. That pain is second nature to you now.
Well, then if you're having fun,
you don't consider it to be pain. Like if you're playing a strenuous sport, like you're wrestling, you consider it to be fun, even though that stress of fighting another man is painful. If you break it down, that is pain. That is the definition of pain. But that pain is disciplining your body. That pain is removing the dysfunction of your body. You realize, when you go to the doctor and they tell you, eat right and exercise, why do they tell you to exercise?
To stay in shape.
What if you're fatty and you go in the doctor's office and they say you need to exercise? Why are they telling you need to exercise if you're fatty?
To stay in shape.
What does it mean if you're a fatty?
You're disorderly. You're not in proper.
Yes, you have been abusing your body. You have been engaging in dysfunctional behavior, right? Eating poorly, etc. Doing something bad, right? Playing video games all day.
And it's showing in your body.
And your body is the vehicle. It's expressing all the dysfunctional behavior. You're a fatty now. Yeah. So what does the doctor do to address dysfunctional behavior?
He tells you to be orderly and not...
No, he doesn't tell you to be orderly. What does he do for your dysfunctional behavior? What does he tell you to do?
Exercise and eat healthy.
What does he tell you to do? Yes, on one hand, he's telling you to eat healthy, but on the other hand, he's telling you to exercise. Yeah. So on one hand, he's telling you to, get some fuel, get some pleasurable food in you. Yeah. But on the other hand, what's he saying?
Go indulge in some pain and...
Yeah, go give your body some pain. Why is he telling you to give your body some pain?
So that it corrects itself.
What's wrong with your body right now?
Tummy.
If you're a fatty, what's wrong with your body right now? You can even look at your own stomach. I know your stomach is a fatty. Look at your own stomach. What's wrong with your body right now? What's wrong with your stomach?
It just doesn't feel right. It feels disgusting.
It's a fatty. It's a fatty stomach, right?
Yeah.
So what's the problem there? Why is that why is there a fatty stomach down there?
Because I'm not exercising and I'm
What are you engaging in?
In pleasure, in indulging.
No, what are you engaging in?
Eating.
We know you're eating, but are you eating properly? What are you engaging in?
Dysfunction.
Yes, dysfunctional behavior.
Yes.
So if I tell you to start exercising, what am I telling you to do?
Correct the dysfunctional behavior by functional pain.
By applying pain. What is the pain doing?
It's removing the dysfunction from
It's stopping that dysfunctional behavior.
So pain is a good thing to stop dysfunctional behavior?
Yeah, it removes the dysfunctional behavior.
Huh. Yeah, shit.
What does the pleasure do? If pain stops the dysfunctional behavior, what does the pleasure do?
Pleasure promotes the functional behavior.
Yes. It's like it tells you what to do. It gives you the map.
Till you hit the threshold and go overboard.
It's the pleasure is the roadmap. It's the orderly part.
Yes.
You know you're doing it right. This is the pleasurable experience. This is to let you know this is what I want you to do that is orderly.
Yeah, well, until you hit a certain limit, a certain point.
What?
I mean, you keep taking in pleasure food, you gotta suddenly stop.
Yes, but that's not the... never mind. That's not the point. Oh, boggles. Oh, Deepak Chopra boggles. Let's skip that. Okay, next. I don't think we're going to be able to get... We're not going to be able to get through all this, so we got to skip to something that is something that's important here. Okay, we could cover... I wrote a note here about... what's his name? We didn't call him this anymore. I forget what we call him now. Lighter than air.
Oh, yeah. He had multiple names, yeah.
Yes, this is the guy who basically revealed his whole identity, social security number, credit card information, etc., and was wondering why it was a bad idea. So, let's see. Do I even want to cover this right now? Let's see.
I'm curious to talk to this guy.
I'm curious to talk to this serial killer. Let's see. Then trying to justify the chat room. Poor listening skill. I'm reading the notes here about what we wanted to talk about. So basically, his listening skills are fail, but he's learning, like most students, he's learning the hard way, just through trial and error. Lighter than air.
Yeah, he's kind of weird. I don't know. He's funny.
Yes, he's a good writer, but he's a very introspective, delusional guy.
Actually, you learn a lot once he clarifies things for himself.
He's funny in that he's a very somewhat articulate guy. Yeah, seems bright, but also he reminds me exactly like you. He's bright, but he's like functionally retarded. Like any guy who wouldn't understand the problem with revealing all your information online is a complete retard. And yet when you read his writing, you can tell that there's an intelligence there, there's an awareness there that you wouldn't have without, being able to to process your thoughts in a coherent manner. So there's this disconnect. It's the same with you. It's like you've been in the academy, you understand a lot of these concepts, but yet you fuck up on the most simplest basic things. Like I remember you were in the chat room and you were talking about, oh, I can't do this and that. And it's like, I'm like reading it going, are you fucking retarded? This is the most basic principle that we teach at Manhood Academy. And you're back to the same square one again. But that's the mystery of boggles. On one hand, you're very helpful to the newer students because you know a lot, and I expect you to, to almost become a tutor here at Manhood Academy because you can kind of see where guys are fucking up. You've already made those same mistakes, and you can help them out. Like Grant that bitch, you can help him out for sure.
Theoretically, I can say a lot of stuff, but application, like, I don't know, I'm still...
Yeah, but it's funny, though. You understand what you should be doing in some regards, but on the other hand, you make the most basic fail mistakes that are they're like elementary mistakes.
I think that the bad training still isn't... Like,
yes, the training is the problem. You lack the training, and that's what changes your realization is the training.
My identity was so strong, it's still kind of...
Yes, you can learn something intellectually, which a lot of people are doing when they read the ebook, but realizing it is another story entirely. That takes training, that takes the effort, that takes the work. That requires some pain.
Yes.
Okay, so posting without doing intro. Okay, so these are just some basic things I wanted to cover from before. This guy's posting his, making all kinds of posts before even doing his intro, meaning he's not reading the directions, not following directions. You're not supposed to do that. The directions are pretty explicit. Post your intro before you do anything else. This shows a delusional, retard mindset. Yeah, we covered that. A retard. Okay. His EM post. Better to have a girl hate you than... I wrote a sentence about his EM post. I said, it's better to have a girl hate you than be apathetic about you. And this has been said before. When you're creating order, everybody who's dysfunctional or every dysfunctional person you come across is going to be rubbed the wrong way. They're either going to be open to your correction, and if you're giving them enough pleasure, they'll be open to your correction and want to follow you, meaning they're going to be attracted to you because you're able to create order, or they're going to hate you. They're going to be like, I don't do things that way. I do things this way. Yeah, you want to do things in an orderly way, but I don't do that. I do it this way, in a disorderly way. So I don't like you. I hate you, right? But if they have no feeling whatsoever, one way or the other about you, they don't hate you or love you. They just, you're just that guy.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong. That means you're not creating order in your social interactions. If you're creating order in your social interactions, you are making people decide how they feel about you. Yes. Thank you for that agreement. That's amazing. Are you
thinking of another point?
Are you watching porn in another window, or are you paying attention?
No, I was thinking of another point too.
What's that? Another irrelevant point, or what?
It was a previous point that we were discussing like 25 seconds ago.
25 seconds ago. Okay. Well,
it's like,
do you want to discuss it, or do you want to just derail the entire conversation? What do you want to do?
My thoughts together. It's like the application, like, even though I get a lot of things theoretically, it's changing my whole, like, attitude and lifestyle. Like, I'm so used to conveniencing myself. Everything has to change from the ground up, kind of, to facilitate more socialization. So, right from, like, just coming and watching TV, not practicing, just sitting and playing video game, I had to change from the ground up, reading books. So, that's why it takes time, even though I understand things conceptually.
Yeah, we had a good discussion in the chat room with Vic about this topic of convenience. It was pretty good. What were we talking about? We were talking about how
movies and stuff.
Movies. Yeah, we were talking about movies, and people were saying, "Oh, movies are great for this and that," but movies are like other conveniences where they create a fantasy existence for a lot of people. The funny thing is, people always say, "Oh, don't worry, it's just a movie. It's fake. Everybody knows it's fake." Yes, they do know it's fake. But they're still being exposed to that fantasy, to that delusion, and that is affecting how they view the world. For instance, I think about simple things. I don't care about, like, the complex plot. I know the plot's ridiculous in, like, a romantic comedy. Those things never happen that way. But just, like, simple things like, let's say you're, some period piece where there's a medieval guy, a medieval knight doing something. And because that guy has created a view of how people operated back then, a delusional Hollywood view of that, you go back in history and you consider that people behave this way when they really didn't. For instance, I just saw some stupid movie, I downloaded some stupid movie, what was it, about a werewolf, a recent horror movie, I can't remember what it's called, it was so terrible. Anyway, it was the Hollywood take on ye olden days, right, back in like the 1600s or something, or the 1500s even, when people were woodcutters, and, it was a take on not Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the Little Red Riding Hood. Mm-hmm. It was called Little Red Hood. I think that's what the movie was called. Okay. You ever heard that story? They tell that in India?
Yeah, I did. The wolf.
The wolf. Yeah, the wolf was coming. So it's basically a little, horror movie based on that. But except it's more like Twilight, the Twilight version of horror where, all the teens are all sexy and brooding. Yeah. And they all look like bros. It's just, it's,
Everything was all super cool.
yeah, it's fucking retarded. It's so fucking annoying. But people, when they watch movies like this, maybe they may not believe the story, but they definitely absorb these social cues and how people interact with each other, and they think that's how it was throughout history. When if people were to find a time machine and travel back to the 15th century, they would be shocked. They would have a heart attack because the Hollywood portrayal of life back then has no link to current times, especially when they portray things in like Nazi Germany. The new movie, The X-Men. They portray Nazi Germany, and they portray things back in the '60s where because people are so politically correct these days, every movie has to have a black guy, an Asian, a white guy, a girl, and everybody has to have the same powers, right? Whereas if you go back in time, nothing fucking happens that way. It's not the United Nations everywhere you go. But in movie land, it might as well be. Everything is politically correct. There's black soldiers. There's. I'm not saying there weren't black soldiers, but they try to make it seem like it was just this colorful world back then. And when people go back and visit at that time, yeah, when they see the accurate portrayal of or an accurate version of that, or they read a history book that has an actual record of something, they're shocked. Yes. So movies create this delusional, dysfunctional view of the world. Yep. I was just thinking about that while I was coming back from the jacuzzi. Like, how many kids, growing up, we used to ride bikes, right? Yes. We used to have exercise, we wouldn't say exercise, but we'd say, hey, I remember when I talked to my friends growing up, I'd say, hey, you want to play today? And that meant, let's go ride bikes or let's go do something outside. It was explicit, or it was implicitly implied that we were going outside to do something. We're going to hang outside. We're going to ride outside. We're going to do something physical.
I would play in the sand.
Yeah, we're going to play in the sand. We're going to go on the, jungle gym, whatever. Yeah. We're going to be outdoors, exercising, exploring, doing something. Now, if you said, I don't know if kids still say, hey, let's go play. You want to play with each other?
No, they just play by themselves.
Yeah, they don't even play with them. They don't even call their friends up to play. They have video games to stimulate them. That's the video game is their friend.
Interesting. The new generation is very socially. Like, I noticed that, like, when I see the 19-year-old hipsters now, I'm like, what the fuck?
These guys, if they want to play, they don't mean they're actually going to interact with each other. They mean we're going to hook up our computers together and have a LAN party where we all play online. So we're sitting down being stimulated by this computer game. And to them, this is like a normal existence. They have no other reference point. It's like they must think in their minds, every kid growing up played video games growing up. That's just what it was like to be a kid. When that's not what it was like. That is what, imagine this. You are playing a video game. You are playing something that a guy invented. A guy who invented this video game is now, in charge of your lifestyle. Instead of running around and playing and getting exercise and socializing, you're stuck inside by yourself, losing the benefits of socialization, having poor health, becoming functionally retarded, unable to solve problems by yourself. All because of this video game this guy created, this fun experience this guy created. So imagine that. If you put it in that context, now you want to kick that video game creator in his nuts and say, what were you fucking thinking? Yeah. I mean, I almost feel that way about the cell phone. A lot of times we want to clap and go, look, you know what? I just got a new cell phone. I got Android. It's fucking amazing. I want to rub it in your face when I see your iPhone because this phone is fucking amazing.
Actually, I like Android.
Yeah, it is. I got to show you this phone when you come over next time. It's a beauty. But even as great, this is the best phone I've ever had. Let me just tell you, I love this phone, and I've never loved a cell phone before. I mean, I don't love it like I want to hump it, but I definitely like this. Keyboard. There's no keyboard. It's just a touch screen. It's so beautiful, and I got swipe for it. I don't have to type. I don't have to mishit keys. I just drag my finger along and just.
I don't know. Like, I prefer tactile things to touch.
Irrelevant. Okay, the point is, this is the best phone I've ever had, and I'm not disappointed with it at all. Yeah. But even with how as great as this phone is, I wish it was never invented. Yeah. Because it has done so much damage to social interaction. Now, on one hand, I think when I'm using the phone, oh, this is so fucking amazing. These games are so much fun to play, and it's so convenient to get my email, and I can text super quick, and I call, I can do everything for me. But practically speaking, I know this phone is fucking up society. So I like this phone a lot more than any phone I've ever owned, but I still wish it was never invented if I had a choice.
Well, yeah. In that case, there's a lot of things that have been invented.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that seem great on the surface because they give you this like instant pleasurable experience. Like this phone is fun to play with. At work, when I go to the bathroom, I have a ton of new games now I can distract myself with while I'm taking a crap. But this phone is fucking up society.
Yeah,
These conveniences are fucking up society.
If I realized all that right when I was going to school, I probably wouldn't have even been studying what I'm just going to work on making more things like that.
Yes, exactly. So consider your experience is ruled by technology. As a child growing up, you are being ruled by somebody else's invention, by somebody else's convenience. Their convenience is handicapping you. So on one hand, you're like, oh, yay, I can't wait till the next Xbox is coming out. I can't wait till Xbox Connect is coming out. I can't wait till the Nintendo Wii U is out, the new Nintendo system.
Growing up, I used to think this quote was really, there was this quote that I really liked, and I thought I couldn't live without technology, and it says, technology makes life worth living. And I used to think that quote was so cool.
Just the opposite. Technology removes the enjoyment of life. You know what's funny, because I read Reddit now, and it's this aggregator of different, like news and events and just posts and things like that. And the front page, I usually just pay attention to the front page Reddit posts to kind of get a gist of what's going on in the cyber community. And most of these posts, like when they explain things, people explain things through games, through video games. Like, it's so amazing to me that there are like certain niche games, like, only a certain segment know about, they get voted to the front page. And to get something voted to the front page, a lot of people have to agree with it. They have to vote it. There's a voting system, right? So you have to upvote it or downvote it, depending on what they think of it. And that post either makes it to the front page or not, depending on those votes. And so many people relate to these stupid video game analogies or these obscure like, unless you were playing that game, you wouldn't even know what they're talking about. Like, they have an inside joke about this game, and it makes it to the front page, but you have no fucking clue unless you play that game. That just shows how delusional people have become, how trapped people have become by technology. People are looking forward to E3 and, the video game conference, and, imagine telling that to some guy who's out in the wilderness or who's playing sports or a jock or something. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Let's go stand in line for E3.
Yeah, let's go stand in line for E3. Whee! I've been to an E3 convention. They're actually kind of fun, but the point is, they're fun in a sense, but on the other hand, they're fucking you up. Just like the cell phone is fun,
it's temporary fun,
but it's fucking you up. Yes. Yeah. In the long term, look for all the conveniences that I can have while crapping on the toilet, I can play all these cool games. This phone is ruining my social experiences with the outside world, because now there's so many retards out there who just cling to their phone. They don't even know how to socialize. So this handicaps other people. If I want to socialize with somebody, I have to do extra work now because they're fucking retarded due to their cell phone use. So as much fun as this phone is giving me, it's also giving me pain that I'm not seeing. It's giving this long-term painful effect.
Yeah, especially the funniest thing is when you go to a nightclub and people are using their cell phones.
Yeah, they're like, let's go socialize. Oh, hold on, I'm in a nightclub. Let me get on my cell phone. Fucking retarded. But again, they're so delusional, so clueless, so incompetent at socializing, they don't even realize how ridiculous they look with their cell phones out at a nightclub.
Yeah. And unless you realize it, you don't.
If you realize it, you would be at the nightclub in the first place, put it that way.
True.
A nightclub is just like being at a stripper bar or a strip club. It's a dysfunctional environment to begin with. It's like being a hooker. Once you're a hooker, you're already in the wrong position. So whether you're a good hooker, a bad hooker, a cheap hooker, an expensive hooker, it doesn't matter. You're a hooker. Mm-hmm. Same with a strip club. It doesn't matter if you're at an expensive upscale strip club or a ghetto strip club, or whether you go there one night a week or every day of the week. You're at a strip club. Yeah. There's already a problem with it. Same with a movie. There's movies I like, movies that are well directed, movies that are action packed, movies that are documentaries. The point is, I'm watching a movie. I'm already dysfunctional.
Well, I mean, that's why it's clear the most successful student down here, I can guarantee he hardly watches any movies at all.
You don't need movies to have a successful social life. In fact, the more movies you see, I would say that the worse your social life is going to be as a result of watching those movies. Growing up, the more movies you see growing up, the worse you are off socially.
Well, I saw a lot of faggy, emotional Indian movies, and I'm a pretty emotional faggot.
Yeah, I would say that's my next post. How many movies you see? How fucking delusional you are.
Oh, this girl, we're gonna have this great loud.
Whee!
We're gonna be dancing.
Okay, let's see how far we are on time. Wow, we've only talked for 1 hour. Time flies. I thought it'd be 3 hours. It feels like 3 hours, but all right, talking to you feels like 3 hours. Okay.
Is that a good thing or that's a bad thing?
No, that's a terrible thing. I thought you'd catch that, but you didn't catch that for a while. Time flies when you're having fun, and it drags when you're not. But
Yeah.
for some reason, I'm not. Yeah, actually, you are dragging the podcast in the beginning, but you've caught up to speed.
Yeah.
Boke.
That's how I am. I fluctuate.
Yeah, you fluctuate. You're a fluctuator. Mother fluctuator.
Emotional fluctuator.
Boke fucking up the time asking assignment with a wrong expectation. Okay. So a lot of people that try the ask the time assignment come in with a wrong expectation. What's the wrong expectation in that assignment?
Getting the time.
Yes. It's very tricky. You're like, this assignment says to ask the time, so the goal of this assignment is to get the time, right?
Yes. I mean, yeah, literally, if you read, that's what you would think.
Well, unless you read the actual directions,
Oh, yeah.
which say, no, that's not the goal. What's the goal?
The goal is getting your expectation met of asking the time.
Yes. The only way to determine if you're successful or not at the ask the time assignment is to check,
You ask the time.
did you ask the time the way you wanted to ask the time? Were you expressing yourself in an appropriate manner when you're asking the time?
Well, that shows how immediately people are so outcome-oriented, they totally forget the focus on the form.
Yes, they forget to focus on the point, which is the form.
Everybody, 100% of the guys ask the time. Oh, I got the time, then I'm successful. I didn't, I'm not.
Yes, they are retarded. They are not reading
Read the directions, then they go out there, they're gonna be like, oh,
yes,
hey.
this is the problem with bad training is that it supersedes good directions. Like the directions are, forget about getting the time, concentrate on asking the time properly. But because their training's so terrible, they go back to focusing on getting the time.
Yes.
So you can see that training works both ways. If you have bad training, it's going to fuck you up even if you have good directions.
Yeah, well, same thing with expectation management. Like, everyone's focused on the feeling, like, oh, the other person made me feel bad, when the main thing as a man is you need to focus on your expectation. That's a big thing for me, you know?
Yes.
So easy, I feel bad.
Especially like guys like Boke. I could see it on the horizon. Or he posts and he's just experiencing positive social reactions, positive social experiences. He's like, oh, I feel so happy now. Life is so wonderful. And now I'm just waiting for him to have a bad social experience so he can start cutting his wrists. Because that's what's going to happen. There's going to be a bad social experience on the horizon. That's where your training comes into play. Will you go, this is so terrible, I can't take it anymore. Or will you say, oh, I'm trained, I'm competent. I can type at a certain speed and I can socialize at a certain level because I have trained to do this. By the way, people like Zyga and Boke may not be paying attention when they're doing these assignments. These assignments are supposed to be pretenses for what?
To start a conversation with.
Are they practice for conversation?
They're a pretense to start a conversation.
Are they practice for conversation? Are they conversation practice?
No.
Why not?
Well, I mean, a regular conversation practice is speaking with your buddies, where you just talk about things where you don't come, I don't come. Hey, mom, what's the time? Oh, okay, now hold on. Let me tell you what I want to tell you.
Yes. These assignments are pretenses. These are good to get your feet wet. They're really to start exposing you to socializing. They're not intended to be a replacement for practicing socialization with your immediate peers, your friends. The only way that they would become more of a practice thing is if you were so socially inept, you're isolated, you had no friends, you had no things to do. But even then, you would have no social community to practice with on a regular basis, like no family members. But even then, I would recommend you join a class or join something long-term where you have long-term exposure to the same people. You can have repetitive social practice, which is what you're doing with your friends when you're socializing, what you're doing with your family when you're socializing, what you're doing with a group in that you belong to, a club, or what you're doing in class, especially, for a lot of people, their work or their school is a huge part of their life. They see those people every single day of their lives. That is a huge part of their socialization practice, and that's where the bulk of their practice will take place.
Yeah, regarding to the family, I think a lot of people don't socialize with their family.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't socialize a lot with my family, so but some people do. Like, I remember some guy always writes about practicing with his brother, his sister, his mom. That might be both. I don't remember. Or Harpo. I don't remember who it was. So some people do, but the point is to take every opportunity to practice with the people you come in contact with daily, not just strangers. You don't see, like when Boke and Zyga are getting together. It's funny to me because on one hand, I think they're going, okay, we're together. We're now starting our socialization practice. Okay, begin socializing. Like, that's the view I think they have of the socialization right now. I think they have this nerd Dungeons and Dragons view of socialization.
Especially Zyger is definitely more on the nerdy side.
Yeah, we're playing our socialization game right now. Let's begin. That's not the way it is. And even they're talking about taking socialization classes, like improv class, where we practice.
I was going to ask you about that. You said, no need to keep finding pretenses. If you're just trying to find the best pretense, then...
Yes, this is just a pretense. It's even if you want to take an improv class, take the improv class for the pretense of being in a group so you can socialize on a regular basis. That's the only point of these classes. That's the only point of, of using something like that. So, their view, I think, is delusional in the sense that they're like, okay, this is social practice time. No, you have to get that out of your head. You have to start realizing that when you wake up, that is social practice time. And when you go to sleep, you've stopped practicing socializing.
Yeah.
So if you want to say, hey, okay, we're beginning, you should do that right when your alarm clock rings and you wake up. Okay, hey, I'm beginning. Now this is social practice time. Every second of your life is social practice time, not just when you get together with a fellow student.
Yeah. Well, I noticed, Zyger and this book, they're online. Earlier, Zyger would be talking with me all the time, chatting. And now he's like, oh, wait, I got to do an assignment. No, I can't socialize.
Yeah, I can't socialize. I got to do assignment. That is an assignment. When you're socializing, you are practicing your Manhood Academy work, your principles of social competence. That is practice time. You should let them know that. You should say, look, this social time between you and me is more important than you and Boat going out and approaching girls and giving them a compliment. You will learn more socializing with another person, your friend, on a daily basis than you will just giving a girl a compliment. You may learn how a girl reacts to a compliment, but that's not going to make you competent at talking to her and attracting her.
Yeah.
Unless you know how to have a normal conversation with another person by practicing repetitively over and over, you're not going to just learn socialization just like step by step, like you're a mystery method or something, some ridiculous seduction community PUA routine. I just saw this thing on her Reddit. I wanted to find it. I wanted to post it. It's this long fucking map of how to attract a girl. It's like this long flow chart. And it's, let me see if I can even find this fucking thing. Flow chart. I'm going to show you this thing. Oh, I found it. This is fucking ridiculous. Okay. Can you even see this? Hold on. I might post this as part of the podcast because this is so ridiculous, but here we go. So if you see this, this is like what nerds do when they attempt to, categorize socialization or categorize anything. Can you see it?
Oh, I have to zoom in. Hold on.
Just click on it again, it'll zoom itself.
Yeah, find the hot girl. This is something Zyger would be doing.
Yeah, so this is like a long fucking flow chart that is just so fucked up. It's just like all these steps. Is this girl responding this way? Yes? No? Okay, go to section 2, point A, right? So it's like, now, it's
interqualifying.
I mean, imagine this.
Hey, hold on, what if one arrow went somewhere else? What would you do?
No, the point is, imagine you're in step 3, phase 4, section 12, and she gives this answer and you don't have a prepared response to that answer. You gotta scroll down through miles of flow chart just to find the proper, action response to this. It's just fucking mind-boggling how these nerds come up with these things. So, and this thing is so long, and the bottom end of this chart says rapport. It's deep rapport. It's not even like the sexual part yet. So, I wanted to make a competing flow chart on the right-hand side, so our Manhood Academy flow chart to show how ridiculous this flow chart is. But the point is, if you look at social interaction through these distorted lenses, you're going to come up with this view that social interaction happens in compartments. Like, when you're talking to your buddies, that's a different thing than actually socializing. And now that you're talking to a girl and asking her the time or giving her a compliment, now you're socializing. You're in social mode.
Yeah.
This is the wrong approach. Everything you do with another person, every time you see another person, that is social practice.
Yeah. No, I was thinking of some points and I was trying to formulate them. I noticed when I go a full nerd approach, earlier I said, I just only need to make statements. When you start going full nerd approach like that, you stop, you try to...
Yes, you're like, okay, here's what I need to do in this conversation.
Yeah,
I need to state interest. Then when she is interested, then I need to, I need to discipline her. I need to do this. So your approach becomes like this flow chart, like this overly ridiculously complex flow chart, which I got to post.
I experienced a little bit of that. And then I realized I got to talk to a lot of people that way. I just be normal too.
Yes, you need to learn how to interact like you're typing. It needs to be able to flow. You need to have an overall picturesque view of what it means to socialize. And a lot of you don't have this yet because you don't have that practice. You don't have that repetition.
I mean, even when you talk to girls, you ask them questions and stuff. You're not like, oh, I'm going to make 20 different statements and get her to
Yes, because I'm listening to what how she's responding to me, and then I'm responding according to what she says, not just this big flowchart I have in my head.
Yeah, because, like, I remember French today, like, I made a mistake. Like, I was talking to two girls. Like, oh, I'm going to convey my experiences of this thing. And I did. And then I was like, okay, I can't talk about anything else. I was like, I could have asked them about where.
You can ask them anything. You could have said anything. But when you have this rigid set, ABC model, it's very difficult to cover every single possible response in the human vocabulary. So your flowchart is going to be too ridiculously long to even memorize. That's the problem with trying to memorize and categorize social interaction without understanding that there are principles governing it. When you understand the principles of social interaction, it's very easy to have a conversation. Because when I'm talking to somebody, I'm already just realizing there's our expectations. How do I get them met? It's that simple. Like, for instance, when I'm talking to a girl, how should I compliment her, or should I say something new? Should I do that? How should I start talking to her? Well, there's two ways, because you could either say, is she a functional person? Well, she'll probably respond to a compliment then. She'll probably respond to pleasure. If she's a dysfunctional person, I need to stop her dysfunctional behavior, so I need to give her some pain.
Yes.
I need to punish her dysfunctional behavior, like a preemptive strike, you might say. So it depends, but on what person you're talking to, but you won't know until you start talking to them. So to say whether you should do it this way or that way, you're just playing guessing games with yourself. You're becoming a neurotic guy trying to figure out what is the ultimate catch-all, end-all, be-all for attracting this person, for winning this person over. Your goal is the wrong goal. It shouldn't be, how do I win this person over? It's, how do I have a competent conversation? And a competent conversation simply relies on the principles that govern all social interactions. If you're able to take advantage of those principles and use those principles in a functional way, in an orderly way, for instance, I stimulate you, you stimulate me, we have a good conversation, we're going to have an orderly social interaction. We're going to have a fun time talking to each other.
When you say principles, I can only think of a couple of principles.
Okay, great. Go write those down later. The point is, okay, so back to Boke and Zyga. These guys are getting together for their quote socialization practice. This kind of bothers me, because again, I want to make sure that they get across, or it gets across, that every time they see another person, that is social time. When they're awake, let me qualify that even further. Whenever they're awake and walking around, that is socialization time.
Yeah.
Not just this designated time where they're asking people the time or they're complimenting girls. Because if you think you're going to learn how to socialize by saying, hey, I like your dress, that's a great dress. If you think that's going to propel you into social competence, you're fooling yourself.
I used to think that too.
Okay, I gave the compliment. Now what? Now I need to attract her. Okay, now I need to share my experience, blah, blah, blah.
I go to that nerd mode, yeah.
Ugh, terrible. All right.
Okay, that reminded me.
Yes.
So, like, most guys and me, like, just think, okay, get our expectations met, convey our experiences.
Speak up.
Most guys, and like me, we used to think, we still do, get our expectations met, which is
right,
the goal, and convey our experiences to get the expectation met, right?
Right.
I think you should also lay an emphasis on listening to what the other person's saying. I don't think that's, like, a lot of emphasis is laid on that.
There's no emphasis on responding to what the other person's saying.
No, listening.
Listening to what the other person is saying.
Yeah, like, we don't really emphasize too much on that. You emphasize on listening to you, but when we talk about getting expectations met with the girl, we don't really stress on listening skills with regards to listening to what the girl's saying. Right.
Well, number one, who cares what a girl's saying?
That's true.
At this point, it's more relevant when you're in a relationship and you need to have a conversation with her to address her needs. But even then, you know what her needs are before she knows what her needs are. So it's more like specific things, like if you're getting to know her and she's like saying, okay, well, I like classical music, and then you're like, oh, you like classical music? Why do you like classical music? And she'll say, well, because I studied X, Y, and Z. So this is part of having a normal conversation. Just like if your friend mentions something that you're interested in, or that piques your curiosity.
I have normal conversations with girls on the side sometimes. It seems like that.
What's that?
A lot of times it seems like guys don't even know how to have a normal conversation with
Right,
girls.
that's why we stress having normal conversations with guys. Because if you can't have a normal conversation with a girl, you probably can't have a normal conversation with a guy either. Most of your conversations with your guys are probably what you consider normal, but are really just meaningless time waster conversations. Like if your conversations consist of "What's up, bro?" You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Okay. If I'm talking to you, do you always hear me say, "Hey, Bogler, what's up, bro? What's going on?" Do I just rely on you and just wait there for you to start talking?
No.
If I waited for you to start talking, I'd kill myself.
Yeah.
I'd be bored out of my mind. I realize I got to take this conversation somewhere. I gotta make the social interaction enjoyable for me. I don't care if you're enjoying your social interaction. I care if I'm enjoying my social interaction. I know you don't care about your expectations. That's why I have to care about my expectations.
Yeah.
If I was to start caring about your expectations, my expectations would suffer. We would all, and eventually everybody would suffer in the conversation.
Oh, that's because you have the more functional expectations.
Exactly my point. My expectation is, how do we both have fun in this conversation? Whereas your expectation is, how do I leech off a plum? How do I go along for the ride?
Yeah. Exactly.
How do I get a free lunch from Plum?
Yeah, okay. Once you make it clear and put it that way. Okay. When you interact regularly with your buddies and stuff,
yes,
the nuances of social interaction come through that you won't get by just theoretically doing stuff in vacuum. You can get skilled at conveying experiences and stuff, but until you do it live with a person,
writing will help you organize your thoughts, but unless you have that back and forth interaction with another person,
you won't know how to have a conversation.
Exactly. You won't know how to speak like a normal human being. You won't know how to ask questions, how to respond to stimulus. Like another person, if you stimulate them, they're going to stimulate you right back, which means you're going to need to stimulate them back, right? It's going to be a back and forth. Like if you're talking to your friends and they say, I like pizza, and you're like, oh, I like pizza too. My favorite is Domino's. Now we start talking about Domino's. Oh, what pizza do you like? So your stimulating thought provokes a response in me. That response in me needs to be expressed because that thought in me will either be a statement or a question about what you said, and that'll provoke a response in you. So it's like a back and forth dance.
That's why it's a good, the chat room is a good place to
practice. The chat room is a perfect place for you guys to practice socializing with other students, with each other. This is what happens with real life socialization. It'd be better if you guys were face to face, but it's the next best thing. If you have nobody else to talk to, Bogler will always be there or somebody else will always be there.
Yes.
So, it's the next best thing.
Yes, the live conversation.
Okay, let's see. I want to ask you before I forget. What do you think we should do about these missing in action students? On one hand, I'm tempted to say, look, I don't want to compromise my authority by saying, hey, I said this is the punishment, and now I'm removing the punishment. Backtracking, right? I don't want to backpedal on something I've said because that ruins the integrity of my authority.
I was thinking about that.
But on the other hand, students are so fucking delusional and dysfunctional that they don't have the capacity to even bear the punishment yet. So, for instance, Rob is retarded, but on the other hand, I don't want him fucking up the academy because he is so untrained and so retarded and not listening to directions because he hasn't read the ebook. Yeah. So if he hasn't read the ebook, he's detrimental to the academy.
Rob is directionless.
Yes, he's very directionless. That's why he gets in all these crazy situations and starts listening to 20 different people at once.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have a directionless guy ruining the academy just because he has a good expression. Rob is, can speak, he's articulate, he can talk to people, and he can influence people.
Well, for the most part online.
Yeah, but without direction, he's going to spiral downward. People are going to spiral downward around him. So I don't want that to take place. So in his case, I'm more apt to not change the punishment. I'm more apt to demand that he read the ebook and give me the summary.
He has 10 million things. He wants to go Navy, go this.
Yeah, he has a billion different things. So I don't want to accommodate more of his dysfunctional behavior. That's the problem with dysfunctional behavior is that as a responsible parent, you really can't, like if this is a real life situation, like he's my son and I'm his father, I really can't compromise. Otherwise I'm hurting him in the long run. Even if it takes years, I really can't compromise on my punishments unless he has the capacity to bear them. For instance, if he's getting into a tough situation and I'm not punishing his dysfunctional behavior or cutting off the flow of pleasure because he's not following my directions, then I'm really adding to his dysfunctional behavior. I'm really reinforcing it. I'm encouraging more dysfunctional behavior.
By not cutting off the pleasure.
Yes, by not punishing him.
Yeah.
I'm allowing that dysfunctional behavior to continue.
Yeah.
So whether it drives him over the edge or whether he finally comes to his senses, sometimes it takes years for guys.
does. I mean, it's taken me years.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a long time, but I mean, sometimes the punishments take a long time to affect people. That's why sometimes on one hand, people come to the site, they read the ebook, but it doesn't always kick in, the next day or even that hour that they're reading it. Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes guys just come back and they're like, oh, this experience matched what you said and I'm ready to join up, or this thing has really helped me out.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it takes a while for this to kick in. This goes at the speed of life. It doesn't go at the speed of, what you expect.
Yeah, I mean, Rob fucked up a couple, and then he came back again.
Yeah, Rob's been around for a long time, back and forth. But again, until he learns the hard lesson, there's not going to be that stability there. And the stability is not going to come by accident. It's going to require training. And part of that training is going through the discipline and learning self-discipline until that external discipline is applied to you by someone else, by Professor Plum.
Some guys pick it up very quickly, like vague paperclip. Some guys, it just takes a long time.
Yeah, attitude is very important. Like, for instance, some guys are like, oh, fuck, don't do this too much to me, or don't do this, this is too much, I can only take this, that, or this is, you're being too harsh. Yeah. That's you. You're a whiner and a complainer. Yeah. Then there's guys like, who's the other guy? He says, I'm going to do it until I get it right. Who is that guy?
That was hardcore, Dr. Chud.
Dr. Chud. He's like, I fucked up, I didn't realize that he has a girlfriend, and he posted his EM report, and his EM report was off. He fucked up. He didn't realize he was trying to justify himself. So I corrected him. And he's like, look, I'm going to do it until I get it right. Thank you for this correction here. That's a great attitude. That will make it so much easier for you to progress rather than people who hang on to their dysfunctional behavior or let their pride get in the way of correction. Ugh, who's this guy think he is correcting me? I don't need to take this. Those things get in the way of you progressing. But if you have a good attitude about correction, that's going to help you take the correction.
Yes.
If you're prepared for correction, you can take the correction. But if you come in thinking with your typical delusional new student thoughts, hey, I'm going to breeze through this academy, no problem. It's going to be very tough for you in the beginning, as it is for most students, I would say. Boggles!
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
I was formulating my thoughts again.
You are a formulator tonight. Okay. We got 3 more items and then we're out of this. I think we discussed the Grand Theft Bitch item.
Well, you didn't really finish this point. So
which point?
Like, you started talking about the punishments for the students and what to do about it. And you
oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding. So there's the one case with Rob. I think I'm going to leave that the way it is. Because again, I'm looking at attitude. The key thing is attitude. Attitude drives behavior.
Well,
so your attitude. What's that?
I want to add in something.
What's that?
I mean, yeah, sometimes even though the punishment, like, if it seems too painful to the student or something, it enables growth. It makes them.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
For example, in high school's case, 20 pay, whatever, I can, like, the guy, like, last week, the week before, he was calling me a lot. And initially, I mean, me and him, I don't really get along with him. I don't want to.
Right.
And then, he's been cut off from the side. He keeps calling me, and then we both started getting to know each other. We started speaking for an hour and a half. And then I can see, man, punishment causes growth in people. Well,
he's reaching out. The thing is, the reason why we want to cut off the site access, or we didn't cut off site access. We cut off. He's not allowed to post right now. I think he can still visit the forum, can't he?
Yeah, I think he can chat, or I don't know, some.
He's not allowed to chat or post, I think, until he finishes his assignment. But the point is, he's cut off from the interaction, which is the pleasurable part of Manhood Academy, the interaction with the students, the instructors. Well, sometimes it's pleasurable interacting with me. But in general, I try to make it a fun experience for you if I'm not kicking your ass. Yeah. So when you cut that off, that's when you lose the pleasure. You realize, oh, that's what it was like having that pleasure, and now I lost that pleasure. I want to have that experience back again. I want to have that orderly experience socializing with you guys again. That's also a motivator to finish the assignment. To discipline yourself to do the work.
Yes.
So right now he's not doing that because the more you, it's just like, it's like this. It's like if you have a bitch, a chick who is acting like a bitch, and you tell her don't act like a bitch. Well, she has 2 choices. She could stop acting like a bitch, and then she can receive your reward, your affection and love, or she could keep acting like a bitch and say, you know what, fuck off, screw you. There's this guy over here, this nice guy. He'll treat me super nice and do whatever I tell him. I can be as bitchy as I want. So what's the problem with your being functional, with you telling her not to be a bitch? What's the problem?
With me? telling him not to be a bitch.
If you're telling a girl not to be a bitch, what's the problem?
She's gonna find some other guy.
There's some other guy out there who will let her be a bitch.
Yes.
So,
Time a dozen.
yes, it's a community effort. Guys have to be educated in general to go as a group, stop being a bitch. So if you cut off, if everybody says stop being a bitch, what's going to happen?
She's gonna stop being a bitch.
She's going to have no choice because all her pleasure is being cut off. If she wants that pleasurable access to male attention, male approval, she's going to have to stop being a bitch. There's no more other guys to run to. Yeah. So right now, you're like one of those guys to run to for High School 101.
Well, it seemed like he was still writing his paper, though.
Well, as long as he's writing his paper, that's all I care about.
He's still writing. He realizes
he's taking for fucking ever, but see, eventually, this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes guys will, this is initially the way I picture it, when they get a punishment, like a big punishment like this. They'll pout about it for a couple days. They'll say, like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. Then, like, after 2 weeks, they'll be like, they'll miss it. Then they'll be like, fuck, I want to come back. And then they'll finally resign themselves and go, fuck it, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And then they fucking pull their teeth and grit their teeth and grudgingly pull through it. And then finally, after like a month, they finally turn in an assignment that should have taken an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I did, yeah.
Yes. That reminds me, I totally forgot about this guy. I just remembered right now. There's another guy who I gave a paper to that should have been done literally like maybe a day at tops. It was a pretty easy punishment. Who has been wiped out by that punishment. Who's that? Let me see here. Let me see if I can find him. Might still be a member here. Let's see.
Yeah, I thought GTB was going to get a paper too.
Yeah, he's supposed to get a paper. That's what I'm going to ask you in a second. What do we need to do about that one? Is it Veritas? I haven't heard from Veritas in ages. I don't even know who that guy is.
I always wonder what happened to Camp Travis.
Camp Travo. I think he just, I don't know.
He couldn't take what society was saying.
You never know. It might be a financial issue. Nick 9, Camp Travis, Vic, Rockeye, LeBron, DKO.
Oh yeah, that kid. Yeah, I met him.
Yeah, he's got an assignment that he never completed.
It took forever. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's taken forever. It's been like his last post.
I think he just gave up.
Yeah, that's my point. Sometimes they don't have the capacity. They don't have the ability to do it, so they just give up. So here's what was his assignment?
Because he's actually a decent writer.
Yes. I got another expectation met, blah, 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 blah. What the fuck is this nonsense? From now on, when you write something in the EM section, I want you to label each and every part of the conversation according to the principles discussed in the ebook, so you can see how utterly fucking fail this is. Okay, so I told him to label each of these parts, which he didn't do. He did a sloppy, lazy job, and so I told him you had to do something. Now you have a punishment because you just ignored what I told you to do. So that was on November 20th of 2010.
This is what I'm thinking.
That was 6 months ago. Since his last punishment.
If you can't handle the punishment, it's like...
Let's do this. We need to have a guideline, yeah.
Well, it's like you train who can be trained. If they choose to give up, then that's their problem.
Part of the problem is they don't have the training to endure the punishment. They don't have the training to finish it. Like, let's say, capacity-wise, he could have finished this thing like an hour ago. This is no problem at all. This is a very light punishment. But in his mind, it's such a daunting task to him. Because he's not prepared for it. He doesn't have the training to how to break it up, how to do it, how to handle it emotionally, how to...
So what are you proposing? You want to go no child left behind?
No, I don't want to do no child left behind, but I want to have a every child must be trained before they can receive the punishment. So on one hand, the punishment is a training, but on the other hand, they also have to have training to receive the punishment. So it's kind of a tricky situation to learn how to deal with.
It's like a progressive punishment.
Well, in a perfect ideal world, this wouldn't be the case because I would have sole authority over them to apply pleasure and pain. I'd be their dad, so I'd be motivating them, do it because I'm giving you pleasurable attention or privileges, etc. in the house. And if you don't do it, you're just going to get a spanking. So you're going to be forced to do it. One way or the other, you're going to be forced to do it. That's the ideal situation. But because I'm not their dad, because I don't really have the capacity to control them by applying pain and pleasure unless they're participating in the forum, they have the option to opt out of training, which is always the danger with guys like this who have no training to begin with. To adopt something like this, to become a student, requires you to dedicate yourself to a certain extent. So you have to be willing to be trained. That's a tough thing for guys who don't know what to expect when they come into the academy. They don't know what training is. They have no clue what training is. They're like video game kids, a video game generation, suddenly being tossed to a generation where kids are expected to ride around on bikes all day. It's like day and night for them in experience-wise. You'd be able to throw a fat, chubby kid who is used to sitting on his ass playing video games all day and tell him, look, play with these new friends for the rest of your life, and now you guys are all going to exercise. He's going to be like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
too
we're all using
strenuous.
so much convenience, and now you're like, write this, go socialize.
So we need to have some kind of standard set up here. Maybe like I was thinking like a 3-month standard or a 6-month standard. Like if they can't do a punishment within 3 months,
Yeah.
take away the punishment. No.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, I have to be responsible enough to give them a very limited punishment. This is what I need to do. This is what I do. Yes, I need to start off with it has to be a painful punishment, but it has to be light enough where they can accomplish it, where they can do the assignment accomplished.
Yeah.
So that is my responsibility, to punish in increments, incrementally make it tougher.
Yeah, depending on the guy, I think, 5 is a start.
Yes, so I need to have a starting point.
Like DKO 10 would be okay. 20, I think the kid got,
Yes, that's the death blow. So that is a start. But I don't think I can ever just go back and say, look, I'm taking the punishment away.
Yeah.
I don't think I can ever do that.
The integrity will, you'll see.
Ah, poor guy. But that's a part, you know when they say, if you love somebody and you got to punish them, this will hurt me more than it hurts you. That's how I feel about these students. Like, I invest time in them, I invest my emotions in them, and this guy, he's been away for so long. It's like, can you send out an encouraging word to this guy? You gotta encourage him while he's in the middle of being punished. He has to have some encouragement.
Yeah.
You students,
I actually like doing that when if I talk to DKO or talk to, hey, how's the paper coming along?
have you talked to him in a while?
Which guy, DKO?
Yeah.
I actually called him like a couple of weeks ago. I might call him later.
Yeah, call him and say, hey, finish the fucking paper, you lazy fuck.
Yeah. No, I will.
He needs some encouragement. Any student that wants to write to DKO or to encourage him to finish his fucking assignment and come back to the forum, please do so. Also,
I was actually thinking of, since he's not too far from Paperclip, Paperclip wanted to see him.
That would be a good idea. Talk to Paperclip and get together. Organize that since you're the head student at Manhood Academy. Also, write this one down. Who's the other guy? Who's the other guy being punished right now?
High school is covered.
HS is covered.
High school, he has a good one that he'll finish it, don't worry.
Okay, good. He's just taking for fucking ever. If he had a good work ethic, he'd be done by now.
I don't know. He does have a good work ethic.
Then he'd be done by now.
He just retired.
He can finish it. He's a bright guy.
Yeah.
Who needs encouragement that's still on the punishment list? I forgot. There's another guy. Barrick? No. Who else? Rob.
Okay.
Rob show. Any student that wants to write to Rob to tell him to finish his summaries of sections 1, 2, and 3 of the ebook.
Yeah, we'll talk to him, except Rob is very hard-headed.
Yes, I understand that. So I didn't say you had to accomplish it. I just said you had to do it. Just say, hey, Rob, please finish your summary. We miss you at the academy.
Yes.
Love Bogler. Love student. Love whoever. So if you're a student and you see Rob show in the members, you click on members and you click on R. Click on R. Then click on Rob. I think his name is Rob. Did they change his name to Rob here? It's not Rob show. Yeah. Rob. Go ahead and send him a PM or an email message, or both a PM and an email message saying, we miss you, Rob. Or even if you don't miss him, you just want to say, Rob, stop being a lazy slob, stop being a lazy fucking hurry up and finish your 3 summaries of the ebook.
Okay.
Or whatever you can do to encourage him to hurry up and endure this punishment and finish it and come through shining.
Okay.
Do so. Please do so. Bogler and any other students.
Students encouraging each other is a good thing.
Yes. This is a community here. This is a community of students. This is what I'm trying to get you to realize, that Manhood Academy is a dependent community. It's not an independent community. I cringe when I say handle problems on your own or, do things on your own, because that's not strictly what I mean. I'm saying that in the context of what I'm explaining, but I really mean you should be doing things on your own, learning how to diagnose problems on your own and solve them on your own with the help of the students. So it's not strictly saying on your own. I don't mean that strictly. I mean,
and I talk to Vic, I talk to a lot of people here. I like discussing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that what you guys, a lot of your problem is, you're saying I don't have social circles. I'm so socially inept that I don't know how to start a social circle to begin practicing. Well, guess what? Manhood Academy is your practice social circle.
Yes.
So it's so crucial for you to build student relationships. Once you get here, start building your student relationships now.
Yeah, I mean, Vic came all the way from another state to come see me and stuff. That was pretty.
Here's an idea that I want you to write down right now for a post. Right. This is actually a good idea. Right. I want you to make a post about the social element of the social element of social interaction. No, I want you to make a post about socializing in a vacuum, how it's so crucial for new students to realize that their social interaction practice starts with the students at Manhood Academy. That they should be encouraged to contact and form relationships with as many students as possible here, to form study groups with them, to contact them on a daily basis, to PM them, to call them. So it's going to be your job. You're the welcoming committee right now. You're going to ask for volunteers, and you're going to be the welcoming committee. You're going to have to set the example because new students are retarded. They're only going to respond by example. So they're not going to. If you call for volunteers, forget the call for volunteers. If you ask for volunteers in a room of social inept people, you're going to get no hands raised. I'm sure some people like Zyger who are coming along will volunteer, but you can ask for volunteers, I guess, since there's guys like Zyger who will volunteer. But you're going to have to develop these people, these students, these social groups. You're going to have to start developing these things, and this is what we're really teaching you here: is how to develop your own social circles, how to create your own social circles. You have to take it.
There should be 5 students chatting.
Yes, there should be students chatting and practicing in the chat room at all hours of the day when I'm not there, especially when I'm not there. Yeah. So you guys need to take it upon yourselves to be the ones to initiate social interaction. That was the whole point of the chat room post, is to learn how to initiate. You guys need to learn how to initiate. Your social circles aren't going to form by accident. A lot of you are still under that delusion that you think, oh, if I just keep doing this thing right here, suddenly social circles will spring up around me. No, you have to take an active hand to form them. And part of that active hand involves you reaching out to your students here.
It does, and it helps, like, for example, Vic, right? I mean, he got a girlfriend stuff, and he would talk on Skype, and he would be like, man, Bugler, you better get out of the house and go talk to people, man. I feel bad. I have a girlfriend, you don't, so, and then I actually did go out and try to make some buddies, you know?
Yes. So, that is why you have your friends. They are your source of, of pleasure and pain. They're there to discipline you if you're screwing up, and they're there to encourage you when you don't feel like doing the work or you don't feel like doing something. They're there to encourage you. If you don't have that support, like normal people have like a family to do that. They have like a mother or father who are supporting them and telling them and training them how to do that.
Like as I just said, this is one big happy family.
Yes, this is one big happy Manhood Academy family.
And actually, when I was supposed to write that post with regards to humiliating students, the concrete post,
yes.
I put it off forever, and then Bo would keep contacting, hey man, when you finishing the paper, dude, I want you to come.
Exactly. Hurry up and fucking finish the paper. This is why it's so crucial to realize, one of the most important things to realize is that you're not here as an individual student. You know, when you go to college, your view is, I need to get my degree and get the fuck out of here. Fuck everybody else.
Exactly how I went through college.
Exactly. That's what everybody's been telling you. I'm competing against you. I'm taking a test against you. This is different. When you enter Manhood Academy, you're practicing to form a family. So you're expected to integrate into Manhood Academy as a family member, not just as a student.
See, that's one thing I never got with franchise. Like me and Paperclip eventually started hanging out.
Yes.
It was beneficial to both of us.
Yes.
The franchise seems he likes more loner, you know.
Well, that's the problem, is the mentality is, look, I'm by myself. I got to do this by myself. It's a self-reliant attitude that is delusionally undermining your social interaction. So your job is to make a post about this, and you're going to start taking action on this, and we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, and make another note. I'm not sure if I remember, but I think I looked for him, but I couldn't find Bro Days in the backup log here. Bro Days. Let me see.
That was a very good thing.
Days.
That was back when I was super crazy.
Yeah, make a note about Bro Days. I want to talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Put that in our...
That is very helpful.
Did we put that somewhere? Yeah, let me put that here. Bro Days.
Guys don't have all this pressure. Oh, what do
Cover Bro Days on next podcast. Hey, are you seeing this when I'm editing it? Put another line here and make sure you delineate between our last podcast, what we covered, and what we haven't covered, so you can move it to the next podcast or to the next podcast. Put some kind of separation there.
You already have one.
Whatever we covered, it's your job to just check it off, so we can move what we haven't covered to the next podcast. Just get rid of it. Check it off or do whatever with it.
I think you hit everything.
I think we hit everything. Oh,
Except,
wow.
have you been punished? How do you know when you're punished with enough pain?
How do we know we punish with enough pain? Let me ask you that question. How do you know when you punish with enough pain? When they've been corrected. How do I phrase that properly? How do you know when enough pain has been
when the dysfunctional
applied?
Behavior has ceased?
Yes, that's it. So,
I'm a theoretical motherfucker.
yes, if it ceases when you, let's say you give a stern scolding and it ceases, you don't have to punch anybody's teeth out.
Yeah.
You've accomplished your job there.
Yes.
So, And the crucial thing is to remember that attitude drives behavior. So if you can change the person's attitude who you're correcting, that's more important than changing their behavior.
Yes.
And conversely, if you tell somebody to do something, like let's say Bogler turned in his paper and he still had a bad attitude, I wouldn't consider his punishment accomplished. Not accomplished. I wouldn't consider his... I might give him another punishment, or I wouldn't consider his punishment to affix the dysfunctional behavior. The dysfunctional behavior really stops when the attitude is changed.
Yes.
Not just when the outward behavior is changed. So, for instance, if he just turned in the paper, he did technically what I asked him to do, but it's like, fuck Plum, or fuck this academy, or fuck that, I'm not going to do that. The underlying problem is still there, so the dysfunctional behavior is kind of hidden right now, just because he's not doing anything to demonstrate it. But if that attitude is there, guaranteed it'll come back.
Yes.
So we're looking at changing the attitude versus just the mere outward behavior. Oh, let's see my points. What about?
Point, watching a book and Kazaiker hang out quite a bit motivates me more to hang out with Paper Club. Like, he's like, we're both watching, hey, those guys are hanging out quite a bit. You need to hang out more too.
Yes, I like seeing the students hang out. And which is a new thing for me even, because I'm used to being, imagine a guy like me, I'm used to doing everything on my own.
Oh, yeah.
So it's even difficult for me to reach out because there's this pride involved. But the longer I train in social interaction, the more I realize it's a necessity where I need to reach out. It's like, on one sense there's a pride thing, but on the other hand, it's like I don't even consider pride right now. I consider, what do I need? And for example, I just called Dr. Ladice, and usually with buddies, I don't really initiate like, hey, I want to hang out with you. Will you hang out with me? Right? I would have no problem when I was a kid, right? Growing up, I would say, hey, I call a friend and go, hey, you want to play with me?
That's kind of like when I call Paper Club, hey, want to do something?
Yes. Say, want to do something?
Like,
You're worried. Is he going to reject me?
Yeah.
Right? So I learned to be callous to that, and I would not call people after a certain point. I would just say, fuck it. If I want them to contact me. But that is undermining the point of social interaction. You have to learn how to stimulate others so that they want to contact you. And part of that involves contacting them, making the effort to reach out to them, to give them pleasure, to stimulate them.
Yeah, and then eventually they're like, hey, man, I'm going to be doing this.
Like a lot of guys have this delusional view, especially nerds. They always ask this question, why can't they think girls are the same as guys. Why can't girls just initiate interactions with us? Why can't they just talk to us? Why do we have to do all the work? Number one, they have no realization that gender dictates that they do the work. They have the capacity to initiate. That's why they should be the initiators. But if they don't have that view, they're going to be like, well, shouldn't girls talk to us just as much as we talk to them? And also, it's an easy way to escape their responsibility, to escape the problem of having to learn how to socialize, how to stimulate a girl. If a girl approaches them, they don't have to bear that responsibility.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, Plum, I agree. Correct.
I don't know. Here's the thing. When you're saying something, I always think of these other points, but they're not directly related.
I know. I like how at least you don't derail my point anymore. Before, you used to say, oh, that reminds me. While you were saying that, you reminded me of this color red that was on my car, and my car is red. Did you know that? And I go, why the fuck is this guy even talking? He is totally screwing up this point.
But that's how my mind works.
Woo! I know. You're like a chick. You know what? A lot of times I read posts by people when they're talking about a subject. Like I'll read in Reddit, you'll see like these threaded conversations about this topic. Like a guy makes a comment about the main topic, and you'll see a guy make a relevant comment, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll see these fucking retards make a comment about like something that was mentioned that has nothing to do with the point, but because they have no mental capacity to put two and two together or to realize that conversations, if they're going to continue, you're trying to discuss something that is relevant to the subject because the subject is interesting and worthy of discussion, you need to add to that. You need to continue that point, or you need to expand on that point, not fucking derail the whole point by concentrating on some minor aspect. Like here, for instance.
Well, here's one thing though. Like I know you kind of covered that point thoroughly, and so I'm like, hey, it reminded me of the other point.
Hey, it reminded me of this. Let me just totally fucking ruin the whole effect of that point. I remember they were talking about something like some important, like net neutrality. Like the government is now enacting some new IP law where they're able to shut down your site or something if they feel like it. And so this is a fairly important discussion. This is going to affect people on a global scale, right? Or something along those lines. And people are making comments about this point, and then all of a sudden you see some fucktard say, yeah, like they'll say some little thing, and the guy will take that little phrase that he said and said, oh, that reminds me of this video game. I love this video game. It's really fun to play, and I like this level here. And then another fucking retard responds to that and go, yeah, this level there was so fun when I played that. And I want to punch them. I want to take those guys. I want to grate their faces off with graters. I want to grate their faces off. Then I want to take golf clubs and just like fucking hit them in the nuts.
Hey,
It really makes me violent to see those people, because this is such an important point, or it's such a crucial topic that's going to affect their lives, and they're trying to. It's essentially they're trying to not have a discussion. They're essentially trying to fuck everybody else's life up by not having that conversation. These people, I want to torture them. Like you're nodding. Mm-hmm. Yes, you want to torture them.
Yeah, I agree.
That is correct. I agree.
It makes sense. I mean, what do you I'm acknowledging.
I'm acknowledging your statement.
Exactly.
Yes.
That sounds really good to my ears. That makes sense.
This.
I acknowledge.
Boggles. Okay, I think we're at the 2 hour mark.
Just one last point.
Yes, go ahead. What else do you want to say?
I'm noticing some of the characteristics of the top student at Manhood Academy.
Speak up. Yes.
Noticing the top student.
That he speaks up?
Yeah, he definitely speaks up.
That he's loud?
He is audible.
That you could hear him on the podcast if he were on the podcast?
Yes, I would think he would be. Yes.
Do you think he would speak up for like short periods, like 5 minutes at a time, and totally forget and totally fuck up the podcast because he would whisper after the next 5 minutes of talking audibly loud enough? Do you think that he would then engage in sabotage and become a saboteur and sabotage the podcast?
He would be more conscientious.
Yes, he would be conscientious and speak at an even, articulate, loud, audible volume throughout.
Yes, he wouldn't pull an erratic Indian.
Yes, he would not pull an erratic Indian, correct.
The smoothing filter would be applied.
Yes.
That is an Indian syndrome where sometimes I'm actually a pretty loud guy.
You know how I can tell if you're fucking up or not? I just look at I have a not just a qualitative analysis, I have a quantitative analysis of your voice right in front of me. I can see your voice pattern and how loud it is, depending on the sound wave.
Oscilloscope, yeah. Because generally I am a pretty loud guy. I speak very loud.
Yeah, the funny thing about you is you do exactly what I don't want you to do. Like if I want you to be quiet, you're super loud. And if I need you to be loud for podcast, you're super quiet. You intentionally try to piss me off.
I think it comes naturally when you're Indian.
Yes.
Okay, anyway, so one thing I noticed with this student is he's he does things he forms a lot of analogies when he's talking to girls, when he's talking to people. And I think that helps him a lot in conveying his experience, and I think that's a good, at least, is that, using a lot of analogies.
Using analogies.
Yeah, I think I've seen him do it a lot, and I think that's a very effective way of bringing people into your experience, at least when you're starting off.
Well, it's good to see that the world is connected in so many ways. That brings order to it. When you can start seeing how the living world connects to your social interaction. For instance, I conveyed to you the fact that social interaction, or the concept of pain and pleasure, not only applies in in a social context, but also in a physical context. For instance, when you're working out, like your body is experiencing a pleasurable intake of food, and then it's also experiencing painful exercise, which removes the dysfunctional operation of your body. It keeps it from getting fat. It keeps it from hitting entropy. So the pain that you put your body through in exercise maintains your body by removing all the dysfunctional behavior that your body would start engaging in if you didn't apply pain to it, or you didn't punish it with exercise.
Yes, so an analogy is satisfying to the mind.
Yes.
So anyway, I wanted to say these things, but I think it'll be helpful to other students too, because I know that this student doesn't really try too hard on trying to say something witty, clever. He just conveys his experience and keeps pumping out analogies, and then chicks are like, hey, give me a number so I can invite you to an event. I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow. So amazing. Maybe because he provides a stimulating experience for them. Maybe because he orders his world and he orders their world in the process.
And in that process, I mainly saw him conveying a lot of analogies, and I wanted to pass it on to the others.
Well, maybe if you were to order your social interactions by creating a pleasurable experience,
I would get the same results.
You would get the same result.
Yes, and that is what is the point of bringing.
You actually can achieve that result right now because you have the capacity and you have the training to do that. You just don't have the what am I saying? You don't have the training. You have the theoretical knowledge and you have the capacity to stimulate. You've obviously done it on many conversations. I enjoy talking to you, which is a huge litmus test. If I enjoy talking to you, a girl must be able to, to stand you to enjoy talking to you.
You to be more consistent.
Yes, that just comes through training.
Training, yeah, a lot of practice.
So practicing, it's actually going out and talking to somebody, stimulating them, seeing that you can do it, and then repeating that process.
Like, I don't know if you read that. Actually, it's an EM report I just posted in my expression thread where I talking to 4 women in an SUV.
Did I read that? I talked to a guy. Let me see. Unread post here.
I put it in
global infection. Oh, I wish somebody would post on that. I probably read it. It was with your buddy.
Yeah, and
did I skip it? It must have been a short one.
No, it was pretty decent size.
Let me see. Did I skip it? How did I miss that? It sounds familiar. I remember you talking about that. I just don't remember if I read it in your post or
I didn't talk about it. I read
in the chat room. Let me see.
Okay.
I don't see your expectation thread at all.
No, I posted it in conveying my experience since I couldn't follow the rigid guidelines.
What? No wonder. I have such a backlog of expression. Why did you post it in there?
Huh?
Why did you post it in your?
Because I had all these different experiences and it was hard to. It did, like I don't. Want
Did it involve any expectation management?
Parts of it did.
Well, why don't you post the parts that did, or copy them and post it into your EM blog or EM thread as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about go ahead and do that?
Yeah.
How about help the other fucking students out?
Well, I at least wanted to get the experience out there.
Yeah, I see it as a red. I have like a line of red posts in the expression section of a ton of posts I haven't read right now.
I posted the link in your chat window.
Yes, I see it, and I've just closed it so I can ignore it. Okay. I have so much to do. I have like this ebook. I'm straining to fucking finish this ebook before I can get to all these posts, but I want to, at the very least, I read all the EM posts. Okay. But I got a ton of expression posts I haven't read, so I apologize to the students. I know it's just as important to critique your expression as it is to critique your expectation management. So that's why I am designating Bogler as a new expression management manager who will be reviewing your posts and critiquing them and providing suggestions. And this will also go in line with his will be in line with his new post, which he'll be making about not socializing in a vacuum and etc. Steps he's going to be taking.
Yeah, well, then eventually others can comment on, critique each other's expressions.
So that's a very important post. I want you to make that ASAP.
Okay.
And then when you get done with that, you can also work on posting your EM report.
Yeah, that. And well, briefly, I'll tell you, I was talking to a SUV.
Yeah, don't tell me about that. Just post it so you have that all chambered and ready to go. You're all ready to get that out all into your post.
Yeah.
You lazy fucking Indian, and make sure you write it down so it doesn't just go in one ear and out the other. Because I don't want to hear a head nodding. I want to make sure it's written out. Perfect. Don't lose that piece of paper.
Okay.
And I can't wait to show you this.
The audience cannot see piece of paper.
Nexus S4G, nigga.
Oh, by the way, have you seen the new? They're gonna have iCloud.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not talk about this at all.
All right.
Thank you for joining us. This has been another exciting podcast.
Delightful podcast, and guys, socialize.
Guys, socialize. As always, Deepak Bogler has just come up with a new T-shirt. Guys, socialize. Is that guys, comma, socialize, or guys, socialize?
Guys, socialize.
I think it's a guys, comma, socialize.
Yeah, but I just say it. Guys, socialize.
Guys, socialize.
That's right.
I like that. That's a new T-shirt.
Simple and gets to the point.
Yes, that is so sweet. I wish you would put that in a signature somewhere.
Oh, by the way, I asked one of the Indian saints your question. Maybe I'll post it in the forum later.
The Indian saints?
Yeah, as to why Indian gods are so flashy. I went and asked one of the Indian saints that question.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, post that in the forum.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Thank you for joining us. This has been a Manhood Academy podcast.